right, looks like we're live. You're gonna have to forgive me. I'm eating as I'm doing this. We'll see how this goes. Let me know if you can hear me all right. Greatly appreciate that. Hi, Lily. Hey, Melissa. You can hear me? Great. Thank you, Lily, for letting me know. I'm always a little nervous. You're going to have to forgive me a little bit. I'm eating some. Hey, Ray. Hey, Pam. As I call hey to myself. I'm eating some French fries and some McDonald's. It's a treat. I love Grubhub, but when they are late, they are like way late. Melissa, thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. I am so glad you guys are here. For those of you who are just signing in and don't know, we're just doing a 4,000 subs, celebration and an Ask Me Anything. People have sent in some questions in advance, but you can ask whatever questions you want in the chat. I will do my best to answer them and be interesting. There's no live reading though today. It's just a fun thing to do, a little fun thing for a few people. I'm excited too. And huzzah back at you, Eleanor. So for those of you who, the live reading of Empire of Stars will be next week. I'm giving it a little bit of time for people to come in. I don't know. We keep losing people, so that's sad. But I was a little bit late getting started. So let's see what happens. Eleanor says that 4K background picture is so pretty. Sylvia Frost did it as always, as she does all of our stuff. It's beautiful. It's very cute. James, well, you have arrived and we are very excited to have you. It is a lot of fun to have you guys here. I'm very excited to hear your questions and just, know what you're doing. I am eating McDonald's. Are any of you eating right now? Like I was saying, Grubhub was so late. My McDonald's fries are cold, which is really sad. But I will deal. Great to have you here, Pablo, as well. Thank you so much. We are going to start I don't know, give it until 2:05 or 2:06. I don't know how many people are going to go. They're going to come for this because we're not doing a live reading. Oh, Eleanor is not eating yet. She's coloring. Chalian says F in chat for the fries. Terry says, I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Esselyn says, hey. Yeah, I know. We're just a little YouTube channel here. I mean, obviously we're, the site's the main thing, but I love to add in this channel and do this stuff because I really like it's acting for me when I get to do this. Lily says, I have some ginger and turmeric tea. I'm a little under the weather. Oh, I'm sorry, Lily. Yeah, I have, of course, have my Diet Coke. Hello, Tamara. It's good to see you. All right, just let me get this a few more minutes. Hey, Tara. Thank you, Myra, for the congrats on the milestone. It is a nice little milestone. I mean, we're already at 4.18, I think. So I hope we'll be doing the 5,000 very soon. Hey, Jaren. Hey, Sigil. Is it Siggy or Sigil? Sigil. Tomorrow says, I love your books. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Those of you who might not know, Cinders and Ashes Book 4 has just been released on Amazon. It is in Kindle Unlimited and you can purchase it. Eleanor says, Lily needs fan art to make it all better. She does. Hey, Deltos. It's so good to see you guys. Lily's like, yes, Eleanor. We've gotten so much fun fan art recently. It's just been amazing. I'm like, can we add this to the newsletter and that to the newsletter? And it's going to be literally just filled with fan art, which is going to be the best. Islin says, she goes, I got my drink and are ready. I am ready too. But people are more filtering in. So just as a reminder, today we are not doing a live reading. Live readings next week. This is to answer any questions you've got. It's like an Ask Me Anything. People have sent in some questions about Dragon's Reign, but it does not have to be about Dragon's Reign. So if you put those in the chat, I can totally answer them. I don't know. It's so funny. As many new members as we've got, I've had people with me for so long. So I'm like, they're like, I know everything about you, Wraith. I don't need to know anything more. Pablo says, your readings are really fantastic. You have the perfect voice for reading, almost as great as your storytelling gives. Oh, you are a treasure. Wish you were writing when I was growing up. Oh my God. Pablo, I am like blushing here and you just made my day. Jaren, I just thank you. Thank you, Pablo. That was amazing. Jaren asks, when is Cinders and Natch's book 4 audiobook coming out? It is in the hands of the audio guys. They claim they'll be done with their work in a month. So beginning of October. And then honestly, Audible's taking a month at least to approve. So it probably won't be out until November, as sad as that is. Eleanor says, is the live reading on the 18th or the 25th? And I might need to fix my calendar. It's next Saturday, whatever that is. So I think that's the 18th. Terry says, I love your voice and your story. And your story, yours is my favorite. Thank you, Terry. I'm sorry, I'm eating some French fries here. Very cold and sad French fries. Well, it looks like we've got a good little crew here. So I thought that I would answer some of these questions that came in. If I missed your question that you sent in, please just put it in the chat. And of course, you're more than welcome to put any questions you have in the chat. I'm looking forward to hearing them. Pablo says, you're so welcome. It's great to be able to say thank you for someone who's given such enjoyment and riches to our lives. Thank you. Thank you. I have to say, I write what I want to read. So to know that there are people out there who like those same things is really amazing. And Terry, you don't have to worry about typos. I'm the queen of typos. And so I enjoy that. All right, let's do the first question that we got here. From Tris Navarro. Hello, Wraith. I love Dragon's Reign. Well, thank you. Is the highlight of my week. Wow. My questions for the 4K special are, where is the Black Dragon King from originally? I sort of had in my head that he was from Germany, what we know is Germany now. Obviously, when he was around, that was a very, very, very long time ago. So I sort of see him as one of the northern tribes. I don't know if it goes back far enough, but I do see him as that. I admit when I think of him, I don't know if any of you guys read Conan the Barbarian and they talk about basically a forgotten time where there were these huge civilizations that have just been forgotten in our world and we just don't remember them. And that's sort of how I think about Valerius, to be honest with you, is coming from a time like that, sort of before recorded history and before anything's come up. And that really excites me to think of him in that way. Even though at some point I sort of think to myself, like, someone that old would be very hard to understand. They would have such a different perspective and be so different from us. And I think actually that Valerius is rather accessible, which is what is one of the one reasons that I think makes him a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys think that too. Says Lily, your books are truly amazing. Thank you so much, Lily. So that's sort of where I see Valerius coming from. Her second question is, what do Valerius and what do Caden and Valerius like more from each other, both physically and mentally? That's a good question. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to answer it right, but I would say that Valerius loves Caden's hopefulness. Caden is sort of hope personified, and he's sort of, made Valerius's jadedness go away, and he sort of reignited his zest for life, and all of that. I think Caden loves so much Valerius's, honestly, his bravery, his that sense that he truly is this great leader, and that he loves seeing that come out. So for them, those are the two things I think that each, Caden is the hope and Valerius is sort of like the old king, who is reignited. In terms of physically, what do they like about one another? I think Caden loves everything about how Valerius is. Who would not? Caden would probably feel the same way, but I think he actually loves Caden's smiles and his eyes the most. Here we go. Jaren says, "What is your favorite chapter of Dragon's Reign?" I think my favorite chapter of Dragon's Reign, and I'm going through it because it's going up on Kindle Vella one chapter at a time. So I'm coming back to a lot of these. And this is so hard because each one of them holds something in my heart. I love the ones that are funny, which I'm really surprised I actually wrote something so funny. When I was going back over it, I was like, wow, this is why I think this is why people really enjoy it. One of my favorites is the first time that Caden is trying to shift with Valerius out in the fields and he can't do it and they have to get naked and he's all like, I don't know what I'm doing. But God, there's so many ones that I just adore, to be honest with you. I love anytime they're together, like eating meat by the fire. You can tell I enjoy that. So Myra says, so Valerius is like a primordial. Yeah, I sort of see him as that. I see him as from a time before our time, so separate from us in a way. So Lily says, oh, his smiles and eyes. Yeah, I think that's. Doll says, congrats on 4K. Thank you. Thank you. Just Me says, can you talk about your writing process? Like, do you write in the morning? Do you have music on? What's your writing environment? Like, if you talked about I apologize, newest to your writing. Actually, I write in the evening. I am definitely a night owl. I have a day job, so I do my work, have my dinner, and then what I do is I write in 20-minute sprints in between either watching some television, mostly YouTube or Netflix, or playing a video game. And I write in 20-minute sprints, and I'm normally done at about 1 a.m. I try to get done sometimes earlier, sometimes later, but that's pretty much when I'm done. I do not have music on. I mean, not always, but I honestly find that to get into flow, I just need to be focused for that 20 minutes. And I'm not allowed to look at anything else like, internet or anything. And I do find that you get into the flow for 20 minutes and you think to yourself, well, in 20 minutes, I'll be able to look at Twitter, or in 20 minutes, I'll be able to go on Facebook, or I'll be able to go check the comments, or I'll be able to just zone out in front of a YouTube video. And that really, really helps. And I use Alexa to help me do that for 20 minutes. Tara says, I just turned her on by accident. Tara says, laugh out loud, eating wool. Yes, that was another one I loved. Alexa, stop. Charming. Riley says, do you think the Black Dragon and Caden would ever adopt a child? I think that's a question you asked. I'm going to get to that one. Do I think they ever would? I don't think so, actually, and I'll tell you why. Their duty is to the whole of the world, and a child is a very focused thing, and I think that they need to treat all children as if they're their children. So I actually do not think they would adopt a child. I think that that would be because it's not like they have reigns that end and you hand over the leadership to anyone. Plus, that child would die and grow old and die. So that would be another reason why not. Okay. So next question. What are the Green Dragon's thoughts on our protagonists? So what does Larian think of Valerius and Caden? Well, depending on where you are in the story, I would say Alarian he's got almost like a little dragon syndrome in comparison to Raziel and Valerius. He knows that he's not as strong or as big or as bad as them. And being second is sometimes harder than being last, to be honest with you. And he feels very insecure around Valerius. Valerius makes him see his weaknesses, but also at the same time, he sees Valerius's weaknesses and doesn't think it's fair that Valerius gets all this basically credit for just being like the biggest and baddest when he doesn't act that way. But as you'll find out towards the end, they become very, very close together. And Valerius really helps him get beyond that belief system, that very limiting belief system he has about himself. And in fact, as you'll find out, Alarian is very powerful and he can do the right thing. As for Caden, I think at first Alarian saw him as a thing, an object, a way to poke at Valerius, a way to gain power, just, whatever. He didn't even care what sex he was, even though he is actually straight. So he doesn't like men romantically. And so he sort of came around like, oh, wait a minute. He just wanted to win. But he ends up being incredibly fond of Caden. In fact, Caden's kindness to him and Caden's, Caden doesn't tease him. Everybody teases him, even though it's sort of dangerous to poke the green dragon. But Caden is truly kind to him and truly says to him, I know you can be a hero. We need you to be a hero. Please be that person that I see in you. And so Caden becomes very important to Alarian as a friend. So let me go here. Doll says, rate all dragons by juggling abilities. Tez wins. Tez is the best at that. Or maybe Kayla's the best. She might be the best at that. Eleanor, I'm not even going to mention her name because we're talking about the Amazon device and she will literally start talking again. Schmack's Adventure says hi. Lily says, I've always wanted to know, how old are the dragon shifters? I know Val is the oldest, but what about the rest? I think, oh God, thousands of years. Probably with Tez and Kayla being the youngest. Like I see May being very old. She came from China, so she has all that history there of the emperors and everything all the way back. I see also like Esme as being around for the Roman Empire. Obviously, Jahara she might be even older than Valerius, coming out of Africa. So they're really old. They're really, really old. I don't know if I got that across in the writing of them. I don't think I'm capable. I don't think anyone's capable of really giving that unless you truly, they almost would be, I don't know, they wouldn't almost be not human anymore in a way because at that age, but we do our best. Here we go. Big Dan says, never mind sleep. I made it. Lily says, yes, Tez the best. He's so cute. Big Dan says, sadly, I couldn't make it in time to start, but I'm here now. We'll just add your questions to the chat. We're going through some of the questions that I got in advance. And I'm trying to go back and forth between questions in the chat and questions that were sent in. Just Me says, do you see an end to this particular story, or will it continue to be an episodic story that just resolves current storylines and continues with more? No, it's ending this month. In fact, the last 2 chapters ends with something very special. I don't want to, those who are members already know, but I don't want to ruin it for those who have not caught up. Doll, who rules Australia? I think it's May, actually. Although she's mostly the Asians content, she's also with Australia. So that's who she has. What she has. Riley says, what made you want to write Dragon's Reign? I can tell you the question that came into my head was what would happen if shifters were not only real, but were here and there were dragon shifters. And I realized I wanted to sort of explore what it would be like. What would the world be like? What would change? Religion and politics and racism is a huge issue in Dragon's Reign. How would that, basically change things? What would be exacerbated? What would get better? What would get worse? And that's really what inspired me to do it. Here, let me just take another question that we've got in advance, and I'll go back to the chat. What would be the perfect date for Caden and Valerius? Well, there is no question what that would be. First, they would fly, but then they would be at a campfire with like sort of cozy furs and pillows and everything. Well, they would be cooking over a great meat that is by themselves, away from all civilization. That would be at least Valerius's favorite date. But Caden just loves being with them. They'd be feeding each other little meat snacks. So that would be the perfect date there. Getting back to the chat here. Rose said, will there be additional stories on the other shifters finding their mates? At this point in time, I do not anticipate that, but I never rule out anything. Just so you know, mostly the site focuses on MM relationships, and truthfully, all of the other shifters, there's maybe Tez is gay, but I sort of see him as being like poly. He's sort of like Pan, like he's like sort of everybody. He looks for love everywhere. But everyone else is either straight or FF, I think, and I don't normally write that. So it's just not the main focus of my writing. And that's not to say that people would be interested in it, but they're sort of signed up for that a little bit more. Alexandrite says, oh, now I know my favorite friendship is going to be Alarian and Caden. Yes, it's a great friendship between them. Rose says, love you and your work. Thanks for transporting me from this world. Oh, that's so sweet. Just me says, oh, wow, sweet. Probably just referring to something. Rose says, I will keep asking for a remake of Lightless. I would love to do a remake of Lightless. To be honest with you, that's a superhero story I did that sort of went off the rails. I am such a much better writer now. I think I could do a much better job, and I think I could just do something very different. Fignan says, how about Mandmar? How old is he? I don't know who Mandmar is. There is no Mandmar in Dragon Reign. I'm not sure. Telian says, what are all the Dragon's Reign sexuality? Well, I obviously Caden and Valerius are gay. Alarian is straight. Esme is straight. Jahara is bisexual. Kayla is gay. Tez is pan, sort of everything. May is, I'm not sure what May is, to be honest with you. I think that she's probably bi. I think she would be interested in the person. I think they all would be interested in the person, but truthfully, I think that in terms of this sexuality, I think she could go either way too. Doll says, does Tez choose the metal he spews? I think he could. We didn't really get into him doing that. Deldo says, how do you create the menus? The spreads you create are amazing. They're actually things I cook. I actually cook for the Wraith Rain team once a week. I try when we have our meeting. So I make the meat thing I described to you is actually meat fondue that my mother put together with different sauces and everything. Although that is actually, it's not cooked over an open fire. It's cooked in a pot of oil and it's delicious. The 70s had many things that were wonderful, and fondue is one of them. Tana says, finally made it to one of your lives at 1 a.m. Oh my God. Thank you for being here. Myra asks, sorry if this has already been answered, but what comes after Dragon's Reign? Anything new, or will you just focus on what's currently out? What comes after Dragon's Reign is called The Wicked Path. I'm hopefully going to start it in November or December. And it is a twincest high dark fantasy novel that's sort of like based on Hansel and Gretel, except it's not. If you guys know my fairy tale retellings, they are very far afield from the original stuff. This is going to have witches, and it's going to have wonderful forest and lots of monsters and twincest. So, and it's going to be high fantasy. So that's what we're going to do next. Shiro says, first time here. Hey, everyone. Hey, Shiro. Tanny says, P.S. I love you and the way you tell your story. It's amazing. And you're so good at plots. Like, what the fuck? Oh, that's so nice. I've been writing professionally for 10 years, but before that, I wrote forever since I was a little kid. So I've been doing it a long time. And I can honestly say you just get better at it by doing it. And obviously the site, every other day, practically, I am writing something. Oh, Lily says, I think Fignan meant Marban. Oh, Marban is, he is from, I believe, ancient Greece. So I think he's around that time frame. So that's how old he is. Tara says, new story sounds awesome. Yes, I think it's going to be. I'm very excited. We've got some really interesting, the two brothers are very interesting already. I've been working out with Kat and with Sylvia to get something really good. Pablo says, you must have felt so good writing those chapters in the beginning in Wally's store when Caden turned himself into Valerius to save his friends. Really cements for us who he is. Yes, it really did. I think that I love the fact that despite his flaws, and Caden, as you know, has many, his true core is goodness. I really do believe in rewarding that. I think in real life, it often is not rewarded. And I like to reward it in fantasy worlds anyway. Just Me says, have you ever considered doing post-apocalyptic stories? And if you have, then since I'm new, what are they? I have not. The only one I thought about doing, honestly, is in science fiction. I think The Abyss would be closest to a sort of a post-apocalyptic, but not really. Although The Starn is very close to what I would perceive it. And I really love cyberpunk, and I've thought about doing something like that. But people, when I actually put it up for the members to vote on, they did not want me to do post-apocalyptic because they did not want it to be depressing, which I wouldn't actually make it depressing. I mean, I would make it interesting, but I understand what they're saying. It's like they do use this to sort of like get away from the world, and they want a world that's better. And so I like more, I would say, I like the more hopeful worlds, like, for example, Empire of Stars, which is the idea of like going off into the universe and all this kind of stuff. Fignan says, okay, so okay. Let me just answer another of the questions that came in earlier. So from Anonymous, what happened to the royal families of some countries after dragons have taken over, like e.g., for example, the UK? Nothing happened to them. In fact, if you've noticed, all the underlying human political and power structures are still there. They have not gone away. There's still a president of the United States, still a premier of Canada, prime minister, I think it's premier or prime minister of Canada, all of that. And so nothing happened to the royal families. Most of them are not actually ruling anything anyway. They're just figureheads and, sort of for tourists and like the past, if you know what I mean. So nothing happened to them at all. Let me just get another question from here so I don't miss these. Which parts of the modern world belong to each dragon specifically? I know that this question had been partly answered, but there are some countries, especially in Europe, that I'm still not sure about. I can't go through every single country and tell you. That would take way too long. And I think people did ask, like, for example, what was Australia? And I have like an idea, but for example, Esme is like really Western Europe and everything like that. And, you know, Ilarion is really, the former USSR and other countries like that. May is sort of like Asia and Australia, um, that sort of thing. So I just couldn't go through them. So Doll says, when shifters were revealed, did they figure out how Queen Elizabeth was a shifter? Because she's immortal. I know you got to wonder, right? There's just some people that it's just like, it's got to be a shifter. But I did not make her a shifter. Dennis says, how do you come up with all the names of your characters? Do you draw inspiration from anything? I actually use the meaning of names to help me. Valerius, for example, Valor, very much so, was the core of his character, even though he is very jaded and he used to be a mercenary. That really does his highest self. And I just look for also that names that would fit the characters. Like if you look at someone, you said, yeah, you know what, that's a Caden, or that's a John, or that's a Will. You can sort of get that. And so I sort of like work on them. Right now I have like 2 characters' names for the Wicked Path, and I don't like them. I don't know if they really are right. But I go back to meanings of names to try to give some kind of, feel to that character. All right. Let's see here. Another question from the question that were sent in. What was Caden's academic major? I think it was something like communications. I know a lot of you theorized it would be STEM, but no, I don't think so. He doesn't have a very scientific mind. He's not like that. He's very much instinctive and intuitive. If you were to get someone who's a scientist, it would be Christian from Everdark, which is very different than Caden. Just Me says, ooh, cyberpunk. Yeah, I know. I love cyberpunk, but it's a little dystopian. Schmack's Adventure says, sounds very interesting. Just Me says, dystopian doesn't have to be post-apocalyptic, depending. Yeah, but dystopian means that it's even worse. Because a dystopian world is not nice. It's very depressing. Fignan says, do you cook? Because you write good food porn. Yes, I cook all the time. As I said, I actually cook for the Wraithrain team when they come over for our weekly meetings. I just made this pretty awesome chicken with stuffing. It was very good. Kat can attest. Jaren says, I'm new to your books. I love Hero. Can you do a redo of Hero for October? Hero. Oh, yes. No, I can't redo Hero for October. I'm too much going on, and I think that it's actually good how it is. I like it how it is. Just me. And it says, never mind, I can't type, not depressing. I think of dystopian, honestly, there's something to be said for that in terms of like when you see, even in Dragon's Reign, there's some dystopian aspects of it because you have people unable to get work and you find yourselves unable to, the system is keeping you down. There's that, but so let me just read another question from the pre-questions. Jody Cobham says, how did Queen Kayla become a dragon shifter? Kayla is actually a creation of one of the members. I let them give me basic ideas for the dragons, and she's one of those. I don't recall what this person originally told me, but I always saw her as having gone to basically save people in a shipwreck and having drowned, and her being saved that way. I see her as being very brave. And I mean, she's funny and she's irreverent and she just sort of gets to the heart of things, but she's also very, very brave and loyal. And I think that she would have died helping someone, even though Valerius doesn't think of the dragons as being terribly heroic. I think they actually are. Myra says, not Dragon's Reign related. It's a continuation of Data Vampire, something that will be soon or not really in the foreseeable future. Myra, this actually gives me a very good segue into what I was going to say about this because someone else asked about it. I love having the manga made. I love it, but it does not make its money back. And when I say it does not make its money back, I mean tens of thousands of dollars not making its money back. So it is it is a money pit for us. My understanding is a lot of, for example, the manga you see in the stores and everything, they do not pay the mangakas up front. They get paid based on how many sales they make. We do not do that. I pay up front. And so I pay the artist no matter if I'm going to make money on this thing or not. It's to add to the site. But when something is that expensive and never makes its money back, and we've sold thousands of copies of this stuff, but you're still at $5.95 a pop, and we only get like $2 of that from Amazon, by the way, just so you guys know, you're not making your money back anytime soon, even though some of these books have been out for almost 10 years now. So manga, quite frankly, is on the bottom of the list of things that I have the artists work on. And I need Mathia to be doing stuff on that, which does bring in money to the site so I can pay my people and myself. So people keep asking me about Data Vampire. It will come. I will definitely do it. But right now I have Mathia focused on other things. And I'm going to ask you all just to sort of like not ask anymore because it's asked a lot and it's really very frustrating because it's sort of like it's just it doesn't, you don't know this, but it's costs us a lot of time, effort, and energy, and we just get nothing back from it at all. And I know a lot of artists don't talk about that with people because I think that there's supposed to be some kind of magic pixie dust that somehow everything leads to a profit if it's good. And I truly think that our manga is top rate. I really do. I believe that. I think all T-Wolf and Mathia are just amazing, but whether it just isn't making us the money it needs to make us. I think we'd have to charge a lot more for it, and then people would be very unwilling to pay that. So we are caught in a catch-22. And we're just, I think, not big enough. But even then, we were at the top of the Amazon charts for manga each time something would come out, and we just don't make our money back. We just never do. So for me, manga has to be done when everything else is done. So I love that you guys love this, but that's where this is in the scale of things, especially for me to do the work that needs to be done to get to Mathia the manuscript to do the next Data Vampire. Lemon, I'm sorry, I'm just calling you Lemon. I discovered you through a YouTube ad, and I'm so thankful. I only started Dragon's Reign a month ago, and I'm already halfway through it. The writing and world building is so amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you found us. We're definitely advertising to get more people in, and we hope you support us in other ways, but watching is awesome. Jane says, when I first got to the part of Wally's and the grandfather, I thought that maybe they were old friends or maybe more. Was I right? Do you mean Wally and Marban? They're old friends. Yes, there's a revelation about that. Shiro says, are there more fantasy type of shifters like dragons? Yes. Well, I know Shioni is a Sphinx shifter, and they talk about unicorn shifters, and there are werewolves. There are definitely other rare sphincter types. Sphincter, that's really good. Shifter types. Doll, if Caden didn't meet Valerius, he would definitely have a let it go sequence. Okay. Fignan says Dragon's Reign have aquatic shifters. Yes, I imagine that there are dolphin shifters and shark shifters. We have to have shark shifters. I mean, really. Maybe even whale shifters. That would be pretty cool. Hiroki says, hi, currently listening to Dragon's Reign. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for letting me know. Aiden's Creed says, Dragon's Reign has gotten me through some really rough days. I am so glad that it has. If we can help in any little way, we're thrilled. Eleanor says, I sometimes use a similar name to create a character names, meaning cultural origin. Other times I just make them up. Yeah, it's tough, Eleanor, isn't it? It's really, really tough. Eleanor says, I loved Hero. A continuation would be so cool, but with so much else going on, I have to be patient. Yeah, there's just so much going on right now. I nearly collapsed after honestly finishing Cinders and Ashes 4. Those books are awesome, but they are very hard to write. In addition to everything else I'm doing. Dennis says, does anyone else on your team do any of the writing, or has it always been exclusive to you? It's exclusive me, everything. All the manga is written by me and scripted. Everything is written by me. Greta says, I love your dragon story. What has been your favorite story that you have written? Oh God. I really love vampires. I love my Winter Haven universe series, although it's all over the place. It's really complex and evolved. I love Everdark. I love Dragon's Reign. That's been really hard. One of the new books I'm doing is called Labyrinth, which is really, I don't know if it's anyone's cup of tea, but I love crime novels with supernatural aspects of it, sort of darkness, and Labyrinth is really that rolled into a delicious, meal for those who like this sort of thing. So that's sort of, I love that right now, but I fall in love with whatever I'm writing because then I'm like, Empire of Stars is my favorite. I actually do not write any longer anything that I do not love because a lot of my life is wrapped up in writing for you guys. I mean, literally, like the majority of my life. And if I don't enjoy what I'm writing, I don't know, I wouldn't do it. So any new serial or any new book, anything has to be something I'm absolutely in love with in order to do it. I just don't do it. Pablo says, would you consider turning Data Vampire into a written story to save money and still come out with it? It's such an awesome story. No, I would not. The whole idea of Data Vampire and a lot of the manga is so that I do not have to add any more to my writing schedule. And so the idea was that somehow the manga were going to be me able to tell you stories where the majority of the work was on the artist and not on me, but I still have to write the manuscript and the manuscript has to work. So no, I'm not planning on that. Data Vampire is going to continue to be a manga and it will continue to be made. So just so you guys know, all the manga is going to be completed. In fact, Dark Earth is actually done. Olive has gotten me all the pages, and I'm going to have the final book is actually 3 books, so I'm going to have to break that up. And T-Wolf is already working on another manga. I do this because I love the art. I love the third artist way, which is how third way is sort of like, there's a third artist when you have somebody helping you with your work. But yeah, it's just in terms of where it is in the priority of what we're doing. Because I would much rather be doing things that bring value to the site in another way. Because I want to make sure that I can always continue to pay my people more and just make this work. Okay, so let me just do another question from the list. This one from B. Beckman. What happens if someone has an alert? I think they say an alert, but I think it's an allergy to dogs and becomes a werewolf shifter or whatever animal they shift to, or even another person having an allergic reaction while being arrested. I don't think that shifters cause people to be allergic. They're not like dogs and cats. So I don't think there is any allergic reaction. Although that's a very interesting question. L Grasshopper says, okay, this was another question about Data Vampire. Sophie asked, question, if the behemoth met the Bringer's 10-headed dragon mentioned in Winterhaven's Country Club, would it be love at first sight? Imagine all their heads kissing. Wouldn't that be adorable? How many heads would their babies have? Sophie, you're cracking me up. The Bringer would probably absorb the behemoth and then burp because that's sort of who that character is. Squall Strife says, I'm so sorry, but this has been on my mind for weeks. So about the nukes, I know that the initial explosion wouldn't hurt the dragons, but would the after effects of the nukes end up killing them slowly? I've been thinking about it since it was brought up, and I really wanted to ask you. No, that would not. In fact, their bodies continually regenerate, so they would actually be fine, while humanity, of course, would suffer. Another one, Vanetta. What I wanted to ask you was if you were going to make Dragon's Reign a novel or a manga like you did some of the others. I know that when it comes to the books, things change slightly with dialogue and things like that, but I would still read it because I like it. No, Dragon's Reign will always remain a serial. In fact, we are posting it on Kindle Vella, which is Amazon's new serial site, which it allows you to purchase the chapters individually to read them. I don't know if you get to keep them To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure how that process is, but you can read them that way. I highly recommend, though, that you just sign up for Wraith Rain. It is $9.95 for 1 month, and you can read the entire thing, which is the equivalent of, I don't even know how many books. It's huge. Probably like 5 books or so. Another question she has, if you would make them into novels for purchase, why? I would not make them to novels for purchase. A novel series is very different than a serial. I can imagine time and money, but any other reason beside that, not trying to be nosy. They're not, serials are not story. Serials are not novel series. They're very different. As you can tell from any novel series I've ever made with the starting off point of one of the serials, they're completely different. How they're written, how they read, how they go. It's not simply just cutting them into parts and giving them an edit. So, but like I said, you can actually read Dragon's Reign individually on Kindle Vella. Michelle says, can you do it's someone else. I love Data Vampire. No, I'm not going to do a book. It's going to be the manga, but it's not going to be done for a while. Pablo says, sorry to ask about that when you just asked us not to. It's fine. It's like there's a delay. Nathaniel says, how real are your characters in your head? They're very real. I do something which I called method writing, where I'm literally the character as I'm writing them. I'm in their head. I'm with them. They live for me. Lily says, I love Data Vampire, but I'm not content on waiting. It's not like there isn't anything else to read, new and old. Take your time. It will be well worth it in the end. It will be. And I think that when you have something that is truly just for art's sake, it's not something that's paying the bills. It does take last place, but at the same time, you can take your time with it and make it really special, which is what I intend. Tara says, gotta go. Thanks so much, Faith. You know, I absolutely love your stories. And even though your Cliffies are evil, they're all epic. Thank you. Michelle says she's replying, I love all your books. Thank you. Hiroki says, by the way, is there a physical edition of Dragon's Reign now or in plans? Would love to buy a copy or copies since there are so many chapters. If Dragon's Reign was a book, it would be probably about 6 novels length, longer potentially. So it wouldn't just be a single book. No, there will not be any books made of it. As I just described, serials are not novel series. You can, like I said, purchase per chapter on Amazon's Kindle Vella, though. That allows you through coins, through tokens. So you can check that out. A lot of people have. It's been really very nice. But again, I really recommend that you just join this site for $9.95 to read it, because it's a lot cheaper. Just me. What do you do to get away from writing, like vacations or other hobbies? I play video games. I watch movies. I used to go to the movies all the time, and I haven't, obviously, since the pandemic, which has been very depressing. And I also just like being with friends. I cook for people. I love cooking for people. I love being with people. I love playing video games, and I really love movies. I just love them. I like to think of myself as I see that my writing a lot has gotten a lot of influence from, honestly, Marvel, the Marvel universe, and that's been really useful. Bad Wolf Girl says, hello, just want to say hi, listening at work. I'm loving Everdark Academy. I have been overwhelmed at the positive reaction to that, because I think people were very cool to it when I first put it out, and I was like, wow, did I make a mistake here? And now it gets more comments and more people excited than anything else on the site, which is very exciting. Lily says, Labyrinth is definitely my cup of tea. Thank you, Lily. I'm hoping I'll bring some people around, because it did sound a little bit weird when I first proposed it. A doll says, imagine swarm spider shifters. I should have done that. Oh my God. Although some of the members would have killed me because they hate spiders. Ness, of all your characters, who is your favorite? Honestly, oh my God, so many. But I really love Jace in Empire of Stars. Jace is probably one of my favorite characters. I really, really, really like him. I think he is just, he's dealing with, because, I have health issues, and I feel that he has had to deal those and sort of rise above, and I wish I could be so positive. Pablo says, I love the art too, so glad it will come out by and by. I'll be patient as well. Thank you. Myra says shifters equals hypoallergenic. Love it. I know. Well, it was a very clever question, but I just don't see that as being, they're not like animals. I can't explain it, even though they are. I don't know. Dennis says, not sure if it's been asked. I believe it was mentioned or theorized that the dragon shifters' soulmates were the dragons the behemoth had control of. Do they end up pairing up? Yes, they do. I think some of them do. For example, well, I don't want to. Yes, they do. I'll just put it that way, but not in the story. And we don't sort of go into that. Fignan says, if you have a chance to take a break, what book do you read? And also, do you read manga too? I have actually stopped reading manga, which I'm sad about. But a lot of times I found that the story just wasn't there. It was a lot of porn without plot, or it didn't make sense, or it was honestly sort of really rapey. And I just was not, it really didn't make sense to me. Like the stuff that I was getting, I was like, why are we doing this? But I think that's probably, I say that, and that's, I haven't looked in a long time, and I'm sure it's changed. But the yaoi stuff that I was first exposed to, I was so thrilled that there was anything showing this kind of stuff boys love, that it was in the beginning, like View in the Finder and Golden Cane and all this kind of stuff. And there was just a lot of, it was always like they forced the other partner to, have sex because that was the only way they could admit they're gay. And I don't like that anymore. But I'm sure that it's probably evolved since then. But I mostly actually read graphic novels, and I honestly find myself more looking for the supernatural stuff. I would love if it had, honestly, just like what I write, I want a full story with a romance. And I often just don't find that. What books do I read? I read a lot of true crime, actually. Which sounds rather random, but I do read a lot of true crime. And I also enjoy a lot of police procedurals, which is sort of strange for, what I'm saying, but I love also like high fantasy and stuff. But I find it painful because when I read stuff that I enjoy the most that I write in, I feel like I have to write this right now. And that really almost is like painful to me. So, Nathaniel asks, are you a plotter or a pantser? I'm a pantser. I've always been a pantser forever. Canna says, what do you think Caden's major was when he was in college? Which we answered. He was a communications major, I think. Fignan says, I forgot, is there going to be a black and white plushie, dragon plushie? I would love to do those, but the only way to make it affordable is to have them be made in China, and then in China you have to order hundreds of them, and it's just not a thing we can do. I don't have anywhere to store them. Just me, what are your favorite video games right now? I mean, I love all RPGs, mostly Western RPGs, for example, like Skyrim and Oblivion and like everything by Bethesda. I'm really playing right now. I mean, The Witcher, and I wanted Cyberpunk to be so much more, and I'm just so disappointed with them about that. The Witcher is amazing. I'm playing The Ascent right now, which is just so much fun. But those are some of my favorites right now. Obviously, I loved, by the way, I loved, God, I can't even think of the name. I'm blanking on all my BioWare stuff, but I loved all of those too. Doll says, what's Everdark Academy? Tell me. It is literally a Vampire Academy. It's the sequel to Everdark. You should check out the site and you'll be able to find out a little bit about it. Go to wraithrain.com. Doll says, if you make a spider swarm shifter, name it Doll, that sells dolls made of its thread. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm sorry about the sirens that just came past the house. We've been having a lot of sirens here, which is sort of weird. All right, let me just answer some more questions that were sent in. Joey Sweeney says, yay, I love your Dragon's Reign series. Can you tell me some facts about the green dragon? He's my favorite. Alarian is one's favorite. Well, he has two dogs, Manya and Vishki. He is actually quite, he really enjoys dancing. He is sort of one of those guys who will go out all night, dance with his friends, and not like to, of course he that's with women, but he likes to go out with the boys and then have like really bad food for himself in the morning with to, get through all that. He loves riding horses. He is an excellent hunter. He is quite skilled with the bow and the sword and all of that. He also is quite good with martial arts. He likes to sail. So those are some things about him. Jody Cobham asked, when Dragon's Reign is completed, will you then post the Dragon's Reign? No, this is a different question. When Dragon's Reign is completed, will you then post the Dragon's Reign Shifter personality quiz online for members to play on your website? There is no Dragon's Reign Shifter personality quiz. There is an Everdark Bloodline quiz, but that is the only one we've got. So there's nothing for Dragon's Reign. Would King Valerius and Kaden ever think about adopting if they would want to have children someday? We answered that one. Another one is, how do you decide on what names? Answer that one too. How do you decide on what names to give the dragon shifter spirits? That's always like it. They were based off of, again, same way I get other names. Like I look for meanings, and that's how I sort of go from there. Could there ever be a 10th dragon shifter? Yes, there will be. Would Queen Kayla ever fall in love and find her soulmate just like King Valerius has? Yes, she will. In fact, I know exactly who her soulmate is. What's the name of Kayla's territory that she rules over, and what does it look like? There is no name for the territory. She lives, she's mostly on the Caribbean. Am I allowed to do a Dragon's Reign fanfic based on Kayla? Of course you are, with the normal caveats of fan fiction. You got to cite the original material, give links back to it. Do not make money off of it. Do not claim it as yours. Do dragon shifters get to pick the color of the scales, or just random? Think about what happened to Caden. He did not get to pick the color of his scales or anything like that. Kane asked, the question is for the Q&A. Do Valerius and Kaden have cute nicknames for each other? Kaden does call Valerius Big Black upon occasion, but they don't really have nicknames for one another. I mean, Valerius would always mutter innocent boy about Kaden in the beginning, but they don't have nicknames. Hannah says, I love Dragon's Reign, and I feel sad that the story won't be continued with a new saga and new characters like Everdark. In Dragon's Reign, you've written about the possibility of mates for the other dragon shifters. Will there be some side stories with the other dragons and their mates? I'd love to meet the mates of Laren, May, or Esme. I mentioned this before. I don't think so. Just because it doesn't fit in with, and that's not to say that I can't do it. Because, I don't know, obviously with members, you really ask me, I do it. But I don't have any plans right now to do it. I really have to be inspired to feel like something I have to offer to you guys to make it worthwhile. And finally, what's your favorite shifter type? Dragon. Absolutely. I love the dragons. I want to be a dragon. Okay, so those are all the questions. That's all the questions that were asked in. Let's keep going on the chat. Melissa says, I am loving Everdark Academy. When is Grayson going to finally admit to himself he is Asher? And who is going to turn him, Ryder or Danny? Who would want to turn him? Those are all spoiler questions, Melissa. I'm not going to tell you what the answer to those questions. You'll have to wait and find out. Bad Wolf Girl responds to Doll as a sequel to Everdark. Yes. So if you guys have never done it, I highly recommend that you head over to wraithrain.com and poke around, and you can see all the stories. And most of them you can read the first 5 chapters, so you can just see what people are referring to. Jennifer says, wanted to pop in and say hi while listening. I discovered Dragon's Reign on Spotify and bought a subscription to the site. Thank you so much. That's amazing. I've been enjoying everything. Thank you for sharing your talent with us. Well, thank you so much for supporting us and being a member. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. I love it. Eleanor says, Doll EDA is one of the best new pairings ever. Thank you very much. Doll says, shh, no spoilers. I want to read raw. I understand. Just me. Fallout series. I love the Fallout series. And I was, even with Fallout 4, I was like obsessed with making the settlements. I got obsessed with that and just stopped doing the story, which was like, funny. I just stopped. I can't wait for Starfield. I am just dying to play Starfield. Because I love these space RPGs, and there's so few made. Islin says, my first story I read was Birthright. Oh my gosh. And I loved it. Will you continue to write more in that universe, those characters? I don't think so. It was sort of a one-off. It was very much like an HP Lovecraft feel to that. If you like those darker stuff, I think some of the stories like the Artifact would be good. I do think, honestly, Labyrinth might be up your alley. The Pact. So, yeah, that's my plan anyway. Michael James says, hi, I'm new. I just joined since I found Dragon's Reign and I'm completely hooked. Thanks so much for your awesome narrative. That's amazing. Thank you. Valerius says, yeah, I'm not the only one who's into the Green Dragon. No, Alarion has his favorite. Bad Wolf Girl says, Alarion dancing. Lol, I can't imagine that. Oh yes, he gets it on. Gets his groove on. Nathaniel asks me, do your characters sometimes surprise you? All the time. I really find the best stuff comes out that I'm not expecting. And sometimes when I'm trying to get characters going away I think they should go and they won't, it's always interesting. What is Val's favorite medieval weapon? A mace. Yeah, he likes the mace, but he does obviously like the two-handed broadsword as well. I mean, he's a big sword guy. Lily says, I love Alarion even more now. Thank you. Hiroki says, gotta go. Have a nice day, evening. Thank you. Big Den says, a 10th dragon. Yes, because all of the dragon shifters have mates, and those mates are not yet in the world yet. Mr. King Sir says, I found Dragon's Reign while looking for Dungeons and Dragons related topics. Do you play any tabletop? If so, which one? I actually love Dungeons and Dragons. I used to play as a kid, and we actually just were before the pandemic. I was DMing a game, and I am blanking what story it was in. It was the vampire one, which why can't I think of that? I'm totally blanking. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I really want to play it again. I really, either just doing it, being a character, or being the DM again. I was terrible probably as DM in terms of rules, but in terms of story, I think I did okay. Although all the players, they drove me crazy because they would not do what I wanted them to do. Steven says, will we have an audiobook for Dragon's Reign? I'm sure this probably has already been mentioned, but I just go on. No, probably not, because the quality for audiobooks is incredibly high, and I'd have to reread, and Kat would have to re-edit everything. And no, probably not. If it would be an audiobook, it would be like 10 audiobooks at $11.95 a pop. So you can imagine. Doll says, does Alarion snowboard? I think they're capable of doing anything, but I don't think so. He might ski. Greta says, same here. Pablo says, would you ever consider a story involving giants or little people, something like a Tom Thumb story, but for MM? I always would consider everything, but I don't see the hook in that really would appeal to me. Ness says, Alarion gets better as you learn to know him. He does. Fignan says, are you going to show the other dragon's mates? No. Just Me says, I really hope it's not the Outer Worlds, since I didn't really like the game, and please, I hope it's nothing like No Man's Sky. Yeah, I don't think it will be. And like the Outer Worlds was like, I felt it was, I liked the humor, but it was like, vast as the ocean, deep as a puddle, I guess is what I would say. I'm really hoping it's a true RPG. We're talking about Starfield, like an RPG, like, like their others, like Skyrim is an RPG. Rose Thorn says, I really thought Fidel would be a dragon shifter to join Anwar. Yeah, he could be. He could turn into one. Just Me, Starfield, I hope it's not like Outer Worlds or No Man. Yeah, I agree. We were just saying that. Steven says big sword, lol. Yeah, definitely. Kat reminds me it was the Curse of Strahd we were playing for Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, that's exactly what it was. Delta says, just wanted to thank you for how you treat gay relationships in your series, and I've read them all, and he has, and he gives me so much good feedback. They are honest and realistic. Well, you write from a place of understanding. Much appreciated. Well, I so glad you feel that way. That really is very important to me. I don't write coming out stories, guys. I don't write stories where people are wrestling with their sexuality. I think other people have done that, and it's done very well. I am interested in having people who are gay, and that's not the center of their universe. They are warriors, and they are star pilots, and they are space marines, and they are vampires, and being gay just doesn't matter, which is what I'd want for myself as a bisexual woman, where I just doesn't matter to anyone. And I know in some ways that's almost like the biggest fantasy of all, right? But we'll see. We've made a lot of strides. Rose said, will this stream be posted somewhere because we can't read the answers to former questions? Yes, it will be posted, just like everything else. It will come up. I don't know if Kat can put the questions somewhere. The questions, to be honest with you, are really not there. It's really hard to whatchamacallit. They well, the spelling and everything is very good, which I understand. I'm all for it. Steven says, I would totally buy all of them. Thank you, Steven. We appreciate that so much. That's not to say we'll never do it. It's just, it's daunting. Alexa says, you mentioned rules for fan fiction. Do you have any rules for role players as well? Twitter. Just honestly, what I love about fan fiction is it lets people celebrate the original source material. So to the extent that you are making sure people know that Dragon's Reign exists, that it's by me, and that you love it this much, and that you should, they should check it out, that's fine. Just don't make profit off of it. I think one of my greatest nemesis, and I won't even tell you her name, but some of you who are old school will remember, honestly was charging for a fan fiction. And it's not right. It is not right. That is the only thing that I really have a thing of. And I think also, that's all I will say. But to the extent you want to enjoy it, you want to spread the love, you want to play in the universe, you want to do all that, go for it. I'm all for it. I loved fan fiction myself. I used to write it. I just love it. Michael James says, my friends call me Michael, so everyone can call me that, and I'm still playing D&D as my warlock artificer called Amnon Creed. I just invented an exploding hand grenades encased by lemons called lemonades. Have you ever done something so out of the box on D&D? I actually, being the DM, no. Because I found myself having to, I had all these very elaborate stories planned, and then the players, they just trashed them. So what I ended up doing is just being very much like having one monster set for them to go after. And the ironic thing was that they kept being able to charm these monsters to be their friends. So we ended up having like these parties where they had these incredibly powerful monsters who were like, killing everything for them. It was awesome. One was called Mork and Orc. At Rose Thorn, you can listen to it on YouTube once it's over. Yes. Just Me says, yeah, Skyrim in space equals Starfield equals totally interested. Yes, and that's what my big hope is. But Bethesda is Bethesda, and we know so many stupid companies want to do live service, and that's what I'm afraid of. But I think since they've been bought by Microsoft, I hope that will just not be the case. Sorry for all the gaming talk, but I love games. I love them. They are just the best. Delta says, and that's the best part. Thank you, Deltas. Nathaniel says, what was the inspiration behind Dragon's Reign? What inspired you to write Dragon's Reign? I wanted to write a shifter story, but I didn't want to write the typical shifter story. And like I said earlier in the stream, you might not have caught it, but I asked myself, what would happen? What would our world be like if shifters were real and actually out in the world? How would things change? Religion and politics and all of it, because I think that's what's so fascinating. Like, how would the world be different? How would we normal, ordinary human beings interact with them and all of that? And I think that's really what fascinated me. Have you ever thought of doing a story like Static by L.A. Witt? I've never heard of that story. I don't know what it is. Charlotte says, hi, I'm new here, and I was wondering, what is Val's hobby? Val's hobby is, I believe he actually loves to read. He loves reading. He is a big LOTR nerd. He loves fantasy, which is fun, which is why he's building his whole little world of looking like that. Pablo says, thank you for meeting with us and all this great inside info. Please keep writing without end and please live forever. Laugh out loud, but I'm serious. Of course, I'd have to do the same to read it all. That's right. You have to live forever too. Hi, Blue Mortem Bear. Lucas says, I wish. Ness says, do you think that Tilly is going to become a shifter when she is older? And what kind of shifter could she be? I do not know if she's going to become a shifter. I almost see her as being his counselor, as being Cade's counselor, but not being a shifter. But I don't know. Vigna says, sorry, they have to go. Hypnos is calling me. Go to sleep. But thank you for answering my questions. Thank you for writing. You're welcome. Michael says, I'd so get a fox boyfriend if that's the case. Gosh, yes. Don't worry that you're late, Blue Mortem Bear. Doll says, cockroach shifter, auto exterminate. Oh my God, that would be the worst. I think that was almost worse than basically the swarm shifters. Yeah, it would be another swarm shifter. I bet there are those. Timid Reader says, will you write a continuation of the Elven King's Blade? It's one of my fave series. I love that series. And I might. I do like the portal idea. I do like portal books where basically, our world and there's a portal to like, high fantasy world or sword and sorcery world or something like that. I have to think about it. Delta says, you can say yes, no, or maybe, so not spoil, but do you have something special planned for the Helix? Yes and no. It will be sort of part of the end of it. Steven says, Steven says the story is a shifter story with a twist. The MC shifts between both genders. No, I don't have any plans for anything like that. I really do concentrate on, I admit, Psy Men in mine. Michael says, ooh, Tilly be the grumpy green dragon's mate would be so funny because she would keep him on a short leash with her awesome sass. A lot of people have said that. Although her being 13, other people were totally creeped out by that idea. And we're like, do not do a Twilight thing. I'm like, I know. Delta says, lol, at my yes and no. Carly says, would you do another Spotify audiobook like Dragon's Reign? I never say never, but one of the things that we've talked about, and I hate being this person that keeps bringing this up, but we can't monetize these. So it's a lot of work. We use it to get people to be interested in the books and the sites. But to do another one of these is a lot of work. And since we can't monetize it, I don't know if we're going to do it. We're debating. We're hugely debating what we're going to do next after Dragon's Reign is done. Lily says, I really want a spider shifter in Dragon's Reign now. Oh, God. Eleanor says, oh, I enjoyed Elven King's Blade so much. I wanted to read it ever since I heard Wraith's commercials on it for DR. It's so worth it. I have so many favorite scenes there. I love that story, too. I love high fantasy. I love elves, even as I hate elves. Charlotte says, I really only found this podcast by searching up fantasy on Spotify, and I got dragged in instantly. Nice. Excellent. Yeah, I never know if Spotify has a really good search engine for this kind of stuff. We never know how people find us, which we love to know because we want to, meet more people and get more people into the group. Timid Reader says, I was wondering, given that all your main characters are so marvelous, does that mean you know people like that? For inspiration, I mean. I know many marvelous people, actually. Are they like that? Some of them are, I think, in their hearts of hearts. Yeah, I've just met many wonderful people. Alexa says Facebook ad. Excellent. That's what we like to hear too, that those are getting to people. Stephanie says, I truly enjoy your work. Thank you for all the time, effort, imagination, and fantastic storytelling you put into your stories. It just got rid of her comment. Facebook hates me, so I'll just have to listen on YouTube. I did want to wish you the best and yeah, say congratulations here. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Doll says, I found Dragon's Reign after I come out to my aunt, so God sends gifts. Nice. Michael says, I wonder if we will ever get a scene of Val enjoying a book while being a big spoon and reading to his true love in front of the fireplace. Ooh, that's a dream come true. That is a very good thing. Ness says, I don't even know why Spotify suggested Dragon's Reign to me. I never searched Dragon or MM Romance on it before. Isn't that weird? It's like, how do they know? How do they know? Eleanor says, Spotify has brought in tons of new people based on what the new Discord friend says. That's nice. That's excellent to know. Yeah, because I don't really know. We're asking. Kat always asks the new members, to tell us where they came from. So we're always hoping that more people come in. So yeah, we don't know what we're going to do next. I'm really mourning the thought of Dragon's Reign ending, but at the same time, it's going to end on a wonderful high note, and it's going to always be open for something more. I so appreciate all of you. I cannot tell you joining us here, and it's just been a really wonderful experience just being able to act and share this story with everybody. I think one of the things that I found as is just somebody who always felt like I was a real weirdo. I'm sure you all can relate to that, with what I liked and what I wanted to do and what interested me and what I wanted to read. Yeah, basically to find other people who enjoy it too is just fantastic. Well, we've finished with all the questions, it looks like. And oh wait, there's one more. Then I think I'm gonna wrap it up just because my voice is going. But again, thank you so much. So Telian asks, how does Val's magic mirror work? The one that shows shifters from other form, and I found you by Spotify. Nice to know, Telian. You know what? I don't it's like a magic. It's like it was a strange meteorite that crashed down. And I'm not quite sure how it does work. I'm not quite sure. It's like attuned to the spiritual realm. I sort of see it as like alternate universes, like universes that are existing in the same time frame, but I've probably been watching too much Loki. Mr. King Sir says, would you ever like to have Dragon's Reign as a movie in the way future? Of course. Of course. We were actually contacted by one actual true producer for another story, but it didn't go anywhere. But yes, I would love it. Timid Reader says, when you start writing a new series, do you somewhat plan the numbers of chapters? No, I do not. I have no idea. Bad Wolf Girl says, I had Wraith from ad on a website in 2012 or 2013. Yeah, about that. It's how long we've all been together. All right, well, I'm going to bring this to a close, guys. Thank you so, so much. I'm so grateful for you sharing the day for me today. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And here comes another ambulance, oh my goodness. And Steven, I'm totally Caden. I love it. All right, guys, you take care of yourselves. We'll all talk soon, okay? Next week. Remember to come next week for the Empire of Stars reading. I cannot wait. Cannot wait to be Jace again. It's going to be so exciting. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.